Now, as we all know, on Wednesday, we had the NBA draft. But this was a completely NBA draft because it is normally during the summer, but this time it was in November. Also, normally the draft is covered with fans and players actually get to go up on the big stage and take a photo with Adam Silver. To sum it up with one short sentence, this draft was completely different. How is everybody doing today? It's Sports Huddle back with another video. Today I'll be grading every single lottery pick that was in the NBA draft. Before I start though, guys, I would just like to say that I want to shout out these YouTube creators right here because without them I wouldn't be able to use the highlights for this video. So please go check these guys out. Also, unfortunately, I won't be able to use footage from the NBA draft due to copywriting reasons. So anyways, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Starting off with the first pick of the NBA draft, which belonged to the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they decided to draft Anthony Edwards. Now, don't get me wrong, Edwards was a beast in college. Averaging 19 points per game and making 7 threes a game is impressive. But Edwards only played in one season. Don't get me wrong, he's still really good, but it is a bit of a risk going straight to the NBA after one season, which is also known as a one and done. For the T-Wolves, this is a huge advantage. They can use someone like Edwards, but they already have two other shooting guards, which are Jarrett Culver and Josh Okogie. Nevertheless, this is still a great draft pick by the Minnesota Timberwolves, so they get an A. Next up on the list is the Golden State Warriors, who selected James Wiseman. James Wiseman is somebody that the Warriors 100% needed in my opinion. But was he the player they needed the most? I'll leave that up to you guys. James Wiseman to me was still a great selection by the Warriors. The reason I say that is because the Warriors finally got a starting center who's actually tall. Wiseman will also be a great frontcourt with Draymond Green. Those two will definitely be a killer in the paint. I do think the Warriors should have drafted Obi Toppin, but Wiseman was the guy I had second in mind. So, they get an A-. Next up on the list is the Charlotte Hornets, who drafted LaMelo Ball. Now, LaMelo Ball is looking really good. We've seen him put up some good points in some games, and they have mentioned that he is a good passer. Now, LaMelo is a good pick, but the Hornets already have two other point guards who are capable of starting, Devontae Graham and Malik Monk. I think they're probably going to start LaMelo, but what are they going to do about Graham and Monk? That could definitely mess up the minutes. I think this is still a great draft pick by the Charlotte Hornets, but they're going to have to do something about the other point guards. So for now, the Hornets get a B+ for their pick. Next up on the list is the Chicago Bulls, who drafted Patrick Williams. Now let me ask you something. Why would you draft a small forward when you already have one? The Bulls already have Otto Porter, who is a good small forward. May not be the best, but he's also not the worst. Also, Williams didn't put up the best stats. Just like Edwards, he was a one and done, and he averaged 9 points and 4 rebounds with an assist in his 1 year in college. I am utterly baffled on this Bulls pick because they could use another point guard instead of Chris Dunn. The Bulls pick to me wasn't the greatest, so they're going to get a C+ for their pick. Next up on the list is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who selected Isaac Okoro. Now, Isaac Okoro was an above-average player in college, but this is still a good pickup for the Cavs. The Cavaliers' small forward right now is Cedi Osman, and Osman is definitely not the best small forward. I find this move to be pretty good. If the Cavs if the Cavs have a healthy Kevin Love with Andre Drummond, then Colin Sexton at point guard, and for shooting guard, they can find somebody in free agency. They're definitely going to be looking good with Okoro also at small forward. That wouldn't be the worst team in the East, that's for sure. The Cavs get a B for their pick because we still don't know how much potential Okoro has in the NBA. Next up on the list is the Atlanta Hawks, who selected Onyeka Okongwu. Okongwu looked really good in college. He averaged 16 points and 8 rebounds a game. I admit he's good, but why is it that the Hawks drafted another big man? They already have two really good ones by the name of John Collins and Clint Capella. I am confused on why they would pick him when they already have John Collins and Clint Capella, and what they really needed was a shooting guard and a small forward. Or something like that. Even though this was a good pick, it's not what they needed. The Hawks end up getting a B- for their pick because Onyeka Okongwu is like the second greatest big man in the draft. So, yeah. Next up on the list is the Detroit Pistons, who selected Killian Hayes. Now, Hayes was an above-average player as well when he played in France. The Pistons took a shooting guard when they already have one, though, which is Luke Kennard, and Kennard had the best year of his career last year. So I don't really know why the Pistons would draft Hayes. Don't get me wrong, Hayes is a decent player, but to start over Luke Kennard, I don't think so. So the Pistons get a C+ for their pick. Next up on the list is the New York Knicks, who drafted Obi Toppin. Now, don't get me wrong, this was definitely a great feeling for Toppin, and believe me, guys, I'm very happy for the guy. Because, well, he's from New York. He looked really happy when he realized he was drafted, and I can't help but just be happy for him. But why would the Knicks draft another power forward when what they really need is a guard? Look, I'm really happy for Obi Toppin. I really am. But when will the Knicks draft a point guard? When will they draft a position that they need? I mean, don't get me wrong, Obi Toppin is a great pick, and he's definitely going to help out this team. But they picked they picked the wrong position. I'll put it like that. They picked someone who is good, but not the position that they needed. With that being said, the Knicks get a C- for their pick. Sorry, Knicks fans, but you failed again. Next up on the list is the Washington Wizards, who drafted Denny Avdija. Sorry if I mispronounced his name. Now, when he played in the EuroLeague, he never put up 5 points per game. He also plays small forward and power forward, which are two positions that are taken, both for backup and for starting. So I'm not really sure where the Wizards were going with this pick, but in my eyes, it doesn't look really good. The Wizards get a C- for their pick. Next up on the list is the Phoenix Suns, who selected Jalen Smith. This right here to me seems like a good pick. Jalen Smith is kind of like a James Wiseman. Puts up good points, gets rebounds, and doesn't shoot a lot of threes. Now the Suns do have DeAndre Ayton, so I'm not sure what they'll do about that, but this is definitely a good pick by the Suns. I really like this pick that they made. They get a B+ for it. Next up on the list is the San Antonio Spurs, who selected Devin Vassell. Now Vassell seems like a pretty decent shooting guard. He put up 12 points and 5 rebounds in his last year in college. This to me seems like a pretty good pick for the Spurs. Since we are not sure if the Spurs will be keeping DeMar DeRozan or not, Vassell can be his replacement. Now this depends if the Spurs will keep DeRozan or not. If they do, then Vassell will be a great backup for him. If not, they can replace him, and I'm sure that will go well. So the Spurs get a B for their pick. Next up on the list is the Sacramento Kings, who selected Tyrese Haliburton. Now, Haliburton is looking like a good point guard. He averaged 15 points and 6 rebounds in college, which is not the worst stats for a point guard. Haliburton does look like a good piece for the Kings, except there is De'Aaron Fox, but we don't know if he'll be staying or not. Now, I think putting him as a backup would be nice, but as a starter doesn't look too bad either, since we're not sure if De'Aaron Fox will be back. So if De'Aaron Fox isn't coming back, I definitely think the Kings should start Haliburton. The Kings end up getting a B for this pick. Next up on the list is the New Orleans Pelicans, who selected Kira Lewis Jr. And I really like this pick. I like it because Lewis is what the Pelicans need. After the Pelicans traded Drew Holiday for Eric Bledsoe, it didn't look great to me. Now, can we all be honest here? Eric Bledsoe is no longer the same player he used to be. And to be honest, he fits more as a bench player now. And Kira Lewis Jr. to me should be the guy starting above him. And he averaged 18 points and 5 rebounds, which is better than what Eric Bledsoe can do. The Pelicans get an A- for this pick. And finishing it off with the Boston Celtics, who selected Aaron Nesmith. And surprisingly, the last pick is the most underrated pick in my opinion. The reason I say that is because Nesmith averaged 23 points a game in his second year in college. The Celtics should use Nesmith as a backup small forward because there's no way he's starting over Jason Tatum. The Celtics definitely made an underrated pick there. They get a B- for their pick. Well, guys, that's it. I just graded every single pick in the lottery, and to me, there were some good ones, there were some bad ones, but at the end, it all seems pretty good. I want you to let me know down in the comments, what do you think? Did I make any mistakes or not? I'm curious to see. That is it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing. I'm on the road to 500 subscribers, and you will definitely help out. I will see you all in the next one. I'm out.